Empyre Captain America issue 1 sees the once friendly Cotati invade Fort Myer in Washington DC, where a squad of soldiers hold the line, learning their air support isn't coming. The soldiers fight towards some vehicles with mounted weapons as Captain America joins the battle, giving the soldiers enough time to get to the trucks. The Cotati general Quanth unleashes his vines on Steve's Wakandan jet, pulling it out of the sky as he says that everything will rot and rust and enrich the Cotati kingdom. Cap tells the soldiers to take out the general, getting one of his men to snipe him with a 50 cal machine gun, but the shot doesn't kill him. The shot does, however, force him to call a retreat, but not before one of the soldiers is attacked by the vines, which enter his body. The general says that by his will the victims will rise from the soil, and by his hand the dust from the humans' bones will feed their children. Turning into leaves, the general is swept away by the wind as Bennett is looked over by his men, found out to be fine. Steve formally meets Major Cherry and his men, impressed with how they handled themselves, especially Bennett, who took the shot against the general. Steve hates to ask the men for one more mission, but they need to go and defend the Pentagon, but they need to get the special weapons from the crashed Wakandan jet first. The squad are more than willing to help, getting the weapons and advancing on the Pentagon, taking the fight to the Cotati. Cherry tells Russo not to squeal like a little girl every time he burns a Cotati with his new Wakandan flamethrower, but Russo knows that he's just jealous that he didn't get the flamethrower, since it's fun as hell. Herrero checks on Bennett, since he doesn't look very well, but he assures his partner he is. He just doesn't feel like himself at the moment as Cap meets with the Major, wanting to see General Woodley immediately. Inside, Steve meets with the General, telling him that he doesn't expect the Cotati to retreat for long, but the army's air superiority and artillery should keep them at bay and keep the capital under control. He tells the General to have his snipers target the ones with the staffs and staves, since they are the leaders. Woodley wants Steve to give that order himself since he was about to assign him to a squad, but Steve says he can't stay for long and only came to ask for a favor, since while the world has the Avengers, the world needs armies, and America's allies need their support around the world, particularly in Mexico and South America. The General says no, since it's above his pay grade, and the General is the senior soldier on the base, and he says their forces are needed there. Steve knows that the situation isn't clear to the Generals, since the whole world has been invaded by a hostile force that is trying to kill all sentient life, so every ally that falls weakens them against the alien threat, so every human is an ally. The General refuses to accept what Steve is saying, telling him that every service member is needed there, including Captain America, demanding he get out there and await further instructions. Cap heads outside, meeting with Major Cherry and his men and telling them that a while ago he saw a maniac trying to take over the world, and back then the people in charge said it wasn't their fight and they shouldn't get involved, but that's a mistake he won't make, and while the fight isn't done there, the real fight is in the south, and they have civilians and soldiers fighting across the eastern seaboard, as well as their allies in Mexico and South America who don't stand a chance without them. He doesn't want the soldiers to disobey orders, but Herrero says that as far as they are concerned, he is the ranking officer there, so they want to know where they are going. Cap says that they are deploying to Fort Lee to help the pinned down soldiers there, making Russo extremely happy since they are now just like the new Howling Commandos. Cherry wonders where Bennett has gotten to as the General enters his office, muttering about Cap's disobedience. Bennett is waiting in the shadows for him, apologizing since there is something someone needs to do. Suddenly vines shoot out of the soldier's mouth, covering the General and killing him, as in Mexico City, General Quanth rallies his army, telling his men to follow him through the teaching of the Prophet Qui, pointing out that the nearby city and how the people build their cities of iron and stone in the shadow of a wonder of creation. He casts out some of his petals, which enter the ground, sprouting giant vines that bring the entire mountainside to life, turning it into a giant plant monster. Empyre Captain America issue 1 was a pretty stock standard quote-unquote war book, with Steve leading the frontline charge and being just the great hero he is, and not just for the people of America, but also the people of the world. Cap sticking it to his superior and rallying the troops with a topical speech was really cool and just classic Captain America stuff. It's been a nice change of pace that we've had all the blockbuster style action happening in the pages of the tie-ins, and the main book is used to dive into all of the different groups involved, the politics behind everything, and the motivations of certain characters. The tie-ins being all built around helping out Mexico and South America is great, since that's obviously where the Cotati are invading first, thanks to all of the plant life and where it lies on the equator. So it's lots of fun that there's great connective tissue like that throughout all of these books. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10.